to all of you. I will get Adam to mute everyone else if that's all right, except Peggy and I. Very good. Okay. Excellent. And I just wanted to welcome Peggy Lombardi, Presidential Ambassador from Perth. Also has her lovely place just south of Perth. And Peggy, I've known you for 40 years. Can you believe it? I've been in the business for 41, and I think you've been in the business a little longer than me. Yeah,
just a tad.
You just a tad. Peggy, we've traveled the world together. We've celebrated each other's success together. And you have built one of the most exceptional, extraordinary teams in Nutrimetics history, not just in Australia, but if we put all the countries together, one of the top teams. And I am so excited, so thrilled to have you join us tonight and to share some thoughts on creating a bright future and allowing everyone who is in Nutrimetics today and who has perhaps that little spark of a dream that you had over 40 years ago. So welcome, my gorgeous Peggy Lombardi. Over to you, Peggy.
Thank you, Louise. It was lovely to travel the world with you. I've got great memories of some of the wonderful things and places we've been to. Oh my God, I can see the whole screen of me now. That is terrifying. So Louise rang me and asked me if I'd speak about 3 months ago. And I said, I can't, but put me on hold and I'll come back later. Now, I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, because since then we had Diana, who started this program off, followed by Louise and then Lee. And after hearing those three amazing ladies, I thought, what the hell can I talk about? And Louise gave me a whole screed of things she wanted me to talk about, but I've forgotten what you said, Louise. I'm just going to have to do what happens. I'm going to have to open my mouth and see what comes out. And I'm sure I can share some of the things that have made my career very, very exciting. And like you said, I do remember you saying, and you just said it again then, Louise, you would like me to tell a little bit about my story. Well, after Diana and yourself and Lee and all with your amazing backgrounds and jobs that you held, and Lee came in with all of her marketing degrees and goodness knows what, I thought, well, how do I say I left school at 13? But that's what I'm going to have to say, because that's what happened. And most of you, some of you, I should say, have heard my story. I've told it that many damn times. But I did leave school at 13. I fudged an illness for 12 months, so I didn't have to go to truancy, as it was called, because I hated school. I was always told I was dumb, disinterested, and a dreamer. Well, they got the dreamer right. But I found out later that I wasn't actually disinterested, I was dyslexic. And I didn't know that till many years later. So at the end of primary school, I thought, there's no way I'm going to go to high school. I'd had enough. So I feigned sickness for a year till I was old enough to legally leave. And that's when my working career began. And I love to tell the story of how when we used to come to Perth in the rich man's car, I would see all these beautiful houses with stairs on the river. And that's where my dream really got serious, because I do remember very, very explicitly thinking, as I sat in the back of those old jalopy cars, one day I want to have a house with stairs. So that's where my dream of wanting nice things really began. Monkey see, monkey do. So then I had a very interesting childhood. I was the youngest of 6, and my dream to live in a house with stairs was so vivid. I used to go and play mummies up in the bush with my dolls, with my girlfriend, and I would walk through the bush like I was walking up the stairs to get my baby. I was so focused on that dream. So anyway, when I left school, I got my first job, and I got my job in the milk bar shop where I was the floor polisher. And I had to get on my hands and knees and polish the floor every morning starting at 6 o'clock. So it was ready for breakfast. But you know what? I learned something amazing doing that. The lady who owned the milk bar shop, she said to me, "You are the most fantastic polisher I've ever had." And that was the beginning of me learning the ingredients of success. Obviously, we know that is known as recognition. And I was so thrilled. I was so chuffed that finally somebody gave me recognition for something that I was doing very well. Well, I want every one of you to take note of this. I have focused on that very essence of success, working with other people as we do in Nutrimetics, and ensuring that whenever and however I can give recognition, I do it. And I know I do it very, very well, because I always remember how impactful it was to me when the lady in the milk shop told me I was the best floor polisher she ever had. My second job, I got upgraded. She put me on the milk bar machine. I was so proud of that promotion. And again, you're the best milkshake maker I've ever had. So this is how I learned the ingredients of success, as Louise just said in her introduction, weaving my way in and out of life and remembering things that happened that were very, very impactful to me. You know, I used to go to the pictures in Waroona, which is not very far from where I lived, but I was so committed to my job that I sat at the back of the theatre, or the old hall it was. It was just an old hall with wooden stools, not a theatre. So I could run crazy at halftime to my milk bar section at the shop. I had a job to do, and I had to do it very, very well. In fact, I want you to remember this. I learned then that whatever you do, you give it an unconditional shot, good shot, because that's what I did with my milkshake bar making. And again, I got the recognition. I was hungry for recognition. You know, it hadn't been very forthcoming in my school days, so I was going to make a change. Now, there are two things that I remember that have helped me through my Nutrimetics career. In this journey of creating a bright future, I want you to remember recognition to your customers, to your sponsors, and everybody you possibly can. And whatever you do it unconditionally to the very best you can. Now, it might not be perfect because you might be very, very new, but give it your best shot. And one of the things I learned too throughout my journey was making mistakes was a great, great benefit, because when you make mistakes, as long as you look at the way you can correct and change, next time you do whatever you were doing when you made the mistake, there you go. There's another success ingredient. Mistakes are okay as long as you correct and change and don't just keep making them. Acknowledge them and say to yourself, wow, I learned from that mistake. That was a great experience. So that's how I began working my way through life. I got married, I had babies, I have 2 children, and then my next job was working for Revlon, WA. I don't know how the hell I got the job, but I became their state consultant, which was pretty flash. And I had to go around store to store. I can't remember the names of the department stores. I don't know if Maya was in Perth by then or not, but there was one department store called Bowen's, a family store, and I had to go there and do promotions. Well, I gave it such a good shot. I pretty well sold out everything they had. And that was the beginning of my speaking to women in a group about skincare and makeup, because I used to work on a microphone even in those days, but I'd draw them to me so that I could create the energy and compound each one of their feelings of feeling good, talking to each other. And that way I got them working as a team. So that was an interesting observation I often reflect back on. I was actually doing what we call beauty workshops today, going back over 45, 46, 7 years ago, working as a consultant in a department store, because I drew the ladies in and gathered them around me. So then we went to live in the Middle East. That was another experience. Because I'd only ever had cosmetic training, all of the Western women were secretaries. And there was a lot of things going back there 45, 48 years ago, a lot of development. I actually lived in Sharjah, which is very close to Dubai. And when I lived there, there was only one hotel. Can you imagine that? There's thousands of hotels there today. But I wanted to work. I was so bored. And my girlfriend, who was a very fancy secretary, she said, don't worry, as long as you look good and you can talk English and you've got at least a half a brain in your head, you can get a job as a secretary, because there's a lot of the local girls from the Middle Eastern areas that they are very accomplished, but you will need to delegate to them because their English isn't that good. So I fronted up for the job of the secretary. And when the Arab asked me, do I type? I basically bolted down those steps so fast, I nearly killed myself. And I said to my girlfriend, they asked me if I could type. I just left. But you know what? When I got home, my husband said, there's an Arab on the phone. He wants you to start work as his secretary in the morning. And I couldn't believe it. So I decked myself out. I went to my office, all done up in my business suit, my little briefcase that my husband gave me, one of his. And then I found out my boss was a German, not an Arab. And his name was Mr. Kuhn. And he came out of his office and he said, I'm very, very happy to meet you. I'm so sick of these people I get as a secretary. Can't type, can't spell, can't do shorthand. Thank goodness now I have a Western woman. Well, I didn't know whether to bolt down the stairs or not, but you know what? I hung in there. I had the tenacity and the courage to stay put. I thought, well, it can't kill me. Remember those two words, tenacity and courage. And this guy actually sent me to a business school that very night. So I did learn how to go A, S, D, F, blah, 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 blah. But you know what? When I got into the job, I used more wipeout, what they call wipeout ink in those days, this white stuff that came out of a little bottle, than anyone in the world, because I made so many mistakes. And I used to wind the paper out of my typewriter ever so softly so no one could hear it going zip, zip every time I made a mistake. And I'd fold it up and take it home ever so nicely in my little briefcase so it wouldn't all be in the waste paper bag. But you know what? I learned how to type. I never learned how to do shorthand, and because I stuck at it, I gave it my best shot. And, you know, eventually I ended up with a job in the bank like you, Louise. I actually did work in the First National Bank of Chicago, and that was where I learned to do the telex. And one of my famous telex transfers was the Ali Muhammad, the famous boxer. He was building a mosque in Chicago. Well, the Arab that I worked for, who owned the bank that I worked in, he was transferring millions of dollars to donate to the funding of the mosque. And my little typing figures did that on the telex. So that's a little bit about my background of how I became involved in working my way through a career. I came home to Australia. I found my Nutrimetics kit on my, not kit, I found Nutrimetics on my brother's wife's bathroom shelf, and I decided whatever that body dew was, I wanted it. And that's how it began. My very first kit came from my sister-in-law, because she showed me what someone had sold her, not sponsored her. She thought she'd just bought a kit too. So she sold me a kit. And I went to live in Adelaide the next day, and it arrived a couple of weeks later, and I found my kit in the mail. And there was all the books in the bottom, docket books, pretty books, you name it, marketing books. And I thought, how come I've got all of this? I rang her. She said, oh, you just chucked that in the bin. But you know, I didn't. And I read a magazine. It was that in those days, it was called The Nutri-Living. But in fact, no, sorry, in those days it was called, oh God, what was it called? Pied Piper. Thanks, Louise. I saw your mouth. It was called the Pied Piper. And it had pictures of ladies getting cars, going on an aeroplane overseas. And there was one lady getting the keys to her car. And I looked at those ladies and they all just looked like you and me. There was some older ones, some younger ones, some middle age. And I thought, they don't actually look like gurus of success. They just look like normal ladies that you meet next door or in the supermarket or at the kids' tuck shop days. They just looked ordinary, normal, nice ladies. So I thought, if they can get these trips and cars and prizes, I think I could sell it because I was very good in my Revlon job. So I rang the company that had a number on the brochure and I said, I like your product. I'd like to sell it. Which shops in Adelaide can I go and get a job? Because I'm very good at selling cosmetics. And the lady on the phone said, no, blah, blah, blah. You can imagine what she said. Basically, she said, you've got your own direct selling business now. We don't sell out of shops. You have to go and make friends out of strangers. And I thought, what the hell does that mean? I didn't even know one person in Adelaide, not even my neighbour. However, I went out on the streets of Adelaide and I was as petrified as what I was sitting here at 5 to 5 tonight. But eventually I would say, good morning. My name is Peggy. Can I show you my Nutrimetics brochure? I couldn't even say the name. I thought it was called Nutrimetics. And, you know, I did that so often and they all just looked at me as if I was a freak. Till one day a lady said, oh my God, you mean Nutrimetics? I've been looking for someone who sells it. I've run out and I don't think there's anyone else in Adelaide. And as it turned out, there was very few consultants in those days. So she was my first customer and I thought I was a millionaire because you know what? I thought the $7.95 that the bottle cost, I was going to keep all of it. I knew nothing about wholesale and retail. But anyway, that's how it began. So after a period of time, I rejoined again with a lady called Marie Harvey. Marie is a legend of Nutrimetics. And because what happened, I let my account lapse and I wanted to join with somebody who knew what they were doing. So that's how I became involved with Marie. I rang the company. And then I started my serious journey of holding trainings. No one turned up, only my dog. I've always got a dog. I've got a dog sitting right here next to me, and they're always poodles. So I held my first training to try and sponsor people, to invite guests along. Up in my home in the hills of Adelaide, in Eden Hills, nobody turned up. So again, there's no shortcuts to success. You have to be prepared to go through the hard yards. You know, nothing comes easy that is really good, because if it came easy, everyone would be successful. But it takes courage. It takes tenacity. You have to be brave. You have to eliminate fear, as Louise said. I was reading a little note this morning and I actually put it up on my story on Facebook, and it talked about the river. She comes down the streams of the mountains, through the villages, through the forests, and everything is new and wonderful. And she's coming down, she's going forward, but eventually she gets to where she can see the ocean, the real world, and she's petrified. But she knows she has no choice because she can't go back. And she goes into the ocean and she becomes the ocean. I want you to think of that as your Nutrimetics career if you're very big. Yes, you'll be like a river trickling along, not knowing where you're going, what you're doing, but as long as you keep going forward, you will become it, because you have to go through the journey to become it. Now, I'm not going to tell you a lot about the job tonight, because you've had 3 experts. Wow, can I say 3 ladies, Deanna, Louise, and Lee, tell you so much about the job. You know, Deanna's programs and her charts of success, which she is a guru at, absolutely phenomenal. Louise came in with everything that her and Adam do, the how to and why to. And then Lee Ahrens came in. She was talking about lockdown. But, you know, it doesn't matter if you're in lockdown or not. She was talking about online marketing. And she does it very, very well. And she has an enormous online personal sales business, which very often sells over 10,000 a month. So even though Lee was talking about how to occupy yourself during lockdown, and sadly, I know a lot of you are in lockdown. In Perth, we hardly know what that feels like or means. We're so, so blessed so far. But I do have empathy for all of you that are in lockdown. But look at Lee's article in the Neutral Living in the last day. She talked about the same message that she gave last month on this platform, how to run your business online and how to do your marketing. Lee, congratulations. Your presentation was brilliant. So my talk tonight is about my journey and how it all came together. One of the things I learned when I started my journey was I needed to develop myself. I went to salespeople with a purpose, and I had no idea what that was going to be till they all got up and started saying, I'm alive, I'm well, and I feel great. I thought they were all crazy. But then I realized this is what you have to do if you want to be a very good business person. You know, see, some people are born talented. Let's look at Michael Jackson as an example. He was so talented, but he was not personally developed. He couldn't deal with life. He couldn't deal with being in the business of the music industry. And sadly, his demise came because of that. Whereas other famous musicians like The Boss, our Keith Urban, and many others, they don't just concentrate on becoming the world's best in the music industry. They are so highly pitched. They are so developed personally because they ensured that they took that upon themselves. So very early in my piece, I started to do personal development. The very first book I read, and it took me so long because of my dyslexia, was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you can still get the audio or the download, I seriously tell you, it's still one of the greatest examples of success principles, and I encourage you to do that. The other thing I got very involved with was Anthony Robbins and his seminars. My favorite of all time was Robert Kiyosaki, the Japanese presenter. I love that guy so much. He taught me so much, and we became quite good friends and communicated for a long, long time. He is a master also. But it was interesting, while I was at Salespeople with a Purpose in Perth, a guy came up to me and he said, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. Are you enjoying this? I said, I am. I love development. He said, I've got a program that I'd love you to come and have a look at if you're interested. I said, yes, I will. So I went to his office, and it was very interesting because he said, we do a lot of monitoring. And he showed me this thing that you put in your hands, like 2 cans on wires. And I thought, oh, it looks a bit spooky to me. But again, cutting a story short, It turned out that he offered me a program for 3 months for $15,000. Now, thank God I was already a presidential director, so I could afford to do it. But I needed to actually be very wise because it was a lot of money to invest. But it was the best $15,000 I ever spent, because one thing he taught me was this, and I would like you to be very mindful of it. When they did my getting to know you analysis, let's call it that, with the cans in my hands, I had to go back the next week, and then they were told me all about the things they discovered about me. And some of it was very complimentary till he got to one thing. He said, we asked you about your time plans and your planning, and you have none. I said, that's right. I just wing it. You know what he said to me? It was so embarrassing. He said, you've got very low self-esteem. I nearly died. I thought, how dare he say that to me? I said, I mean, seriously, what gives you the right to say that? He said, well, if you don't value your time as a businesswoman and you're already very successful, that shows you don't even value yourself. That's low self-esteem. You must have time plans. You must have do lists. You must have weekly time plans. You must have 6-month time plans and beyond. And you must be very methodical about how you run your business and what you're going to do, where, when, and what for. That was one of the greatest lessons I learned, because a very short time after that, I became so methodical on time planning. I didn't want anyone to ever tell me I had low self-esteem again. My business was just booming. And very short time after that, about 3 years after that, my business turned over $17 million, downline sales, collective sales in 1 year. Now, that was not just my sales. I have this little homemade chart here that I did up for another presentation, because in those 2 or 3 years, I had already sponsored Deanna Perzer in Adelaide some 8-9 years prior. And as we know, Deanna has one of the biggest businesses in Australia. She's always right up there in second place, her group sales. And of course, Louise is always in first place. But you know what? Deanna sponsored an amazing lady, or Deanna's sister did, downline, Mary Kalia. And she was Costalis. So between Mary and Deanna, the amount of volume that was being presented in WA, and my own PD-ship that I left behind, was phenomenal in those first 8 years, because we worked damn hard and consistent, and we were very brave and courageous. So when I went back to Perth, and after I started that course, I started sponsoring people in Perth. There was Jenny Shepherd, and Jenny sponsored Deanna Mulcahy. There was Karen Nikoski, Georgette Nikoski, and Jenny was now called Jenny White, and of course myself. So when you take into account 6 PD ships, it wasn't hard for it to become a $17 million downline business. A downline business is what you get paid on. So there are the 6 ladies in my homemade graph. And Georgie, of course, Georgie Nikoski. So that was our highest ever combined business downline sales. And that's because we put all the ingredients of success into place. We put more emphasis on our personal development with our team than teaching them how to put on lippies, lotions, and potions. And we always talk the big picture. Whoever we talked to, we talked about the business opportunity, and we still do today. I still get some people say, oh, but that might be pushy. I tell you what, when I hear that, I want to slash my wrists. What on earth can be pushy about sharing a great gift? It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Yes, it can sound very pushy if it's coming from for your benefit. That's why I always say, get your mind off yourself and get it on your job when you're presenting the magnificent opportunity that this business has to offer. So in Perth, and Deanna and I were doing it in Adelaide too. We did so many nights on personal development, overcoming fear, getting it all into place. We had seminars on the weekend just devoted to that. And of course, in Perth, we did it as well. And we did it even further. We hired speakers and we did it very, very well. And that's why we had people that were very brave and courageous, because they were eliminating fear, because they had the ingredients of success in place. One of the greatest ingredients that I came up with was OPA, O-P-A. O for outcome, P for purpose, A for attitude. So if you want to write that down, it's held us in good stead for so long. Jill Jones just said to me yesterday, thank God for OPA, because this is what happened because I put that into place on my journey to the country, and it worked. O means your outcome. What are you going to get out of whatever you're about to do? You've got to identify what's going to be the result before you even get there. So if you're going to do a beauty workshop, what are you going to get out of it? Obviously, for me, it would be to entertain, to inspire, to excite, and for people to want to buy my product. Because when people buy your product, then you can go to the next step to sponsor. If they're happy with the product that you're presenting, and then you present them with the opportunity of buying it direct wholesale, and there's two other options. You can even sell it to your friends and make money, or build a business and have an incredible income. Always the three we've always put in there. Never just a $20 beauty bag for a VIP account. I want to slash my wrist when I hear that too. Don't just leave it at that. You can buy to save money. You can sell to make money, but you can build a business by sponsoring other people and having a team where you can end up earning unlimited income on your team bonuses, plus incredible incentives like Nutrimetics cars, all expenses included, and of course our international travel rewards, which is very difficult to talk about at the moment when so many of you are in lockdown and you just like to get out your front door. But we do know they will come back. But we do know the company is so generous, we now have a $6,000 bonus in lieu of not having been able to go to seminar. And our fabulous conferences will come back too. I remember you asked me to talk about that, Louise. But you must get OPA in place. What am I going to get out of it? Because then you've got clarity. Clarity leads to power. You know what you're going to be doing and what you're going to be there for. But then P is for the purpose. Well, what's my purpose in going out for 3 hours and doing all of this? I love my job, but I'm building a business and my purpose is going to give me unlimited income, security, fun, abundance, indulgence, be able to buy things that I shouldn't really be buying, but because I can. I said to my son the other day, I'm buying another boat. And he said, Mum, you don't need one. I said, but I can. He said, what do you mean you can? I said, I'm buying one because I can. And he just looked at me and he got it. So you know what I mean? When you are doing things that give you abundance, you can do things that are indulgent, that you may not have ever been able to do before. So identify what your outcome is. Why are you doing it? That gets you excited. That puts the fire in your belly. That makes the job all worthwhile. And then, of course, A for action. What do I have to do? I have to be there on time. I've coached my hostess, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go through the job. You hear that all the time. You heard so much of that from Louise. I'm not here to talk about the job. You know the job. The job's very easy. Basically, we sell, we sponsor, and we develop. And we either do it online at the moment if you're in lockdown, and I still do it online, even not on lockdown, because I love online marketing. Oh my goodness, how easy is it? How exciting is it? How wonderful is it? Read Lee's magazine, Nutri-Living entry, because you don't have to be in lockdown to do it. That's how you run your business and your marketing. But when you identify everything you do with OPAR first, you have a clear clarity of what you're going to do and what you're going to get, why, and how you're going to do it. And you do that before everything. If I have a meeting, I write down OPAR. What am I going to get out of it? Why? And what am I doing it for? And what action do I have to take? Everything I do, I work the OPAR principle. So I hope that helps you a little bit, because if nothing else, doing planning, very explicit planning, and working the OPAR system will be very, very beneficial to you as you develop through your business. Now, remember, I left school at 13 because I was petrified at going to high school. I want to share with you, because I developed myself personally, one of the things I also did was become an international virtues facilitator. The virtues program are all of the virtues that have been extracted from the great books of the great prophets of the world, of mankind. And interestingly enough, they all come out identical. You know, love, kindness, appreciation, gratitude, consistency, you know, determination. All of those virtues can be applied into your business. But I learned how to do them as a presentation so I could go into my training room and use the virtues as guidelines for success. But I loved it so much that I was then starting to get asked to go out and do virtues presentations outside of the Nutrimetics arena. Well, my great claim to fame for someone who left school at 13, I was asked to speak to the academics at the University of WA on my presentation, and I was asked to speak to the academics at the University of Seoul, Korea. So I did that because I had developed myself. I couldn't have done it just because I became a virtues presenter. It was because I went to Anthony Robbins. I love Robert Kiyosaki. I went to every seminar that came to town. I was hungry for knowledge. It's called empowerment. It's very difficult in your journey to accelerate to the future to give empowerment to others if you are not empowering yourself. I can't stress that more strongly. You must be very, very determined to become very, very empowered. You've got to be prepared to put yourself in that position of learning and discovering and doing whatever it takes. Remember, in the acceleration of your journey, you're developing a business. I only talk business. I leave all the lippies, lotions, stuff to the other wonderful girls in Nutrimetics these days. But did I do it? Of course I did it. That's how I met Deanna, doing a workshop. That's how I met Jenny White. That's how we sponsored Karen Nikoski. That's how Georgette got excited. She came to a workshop. People have to fall in love with the product first. Just sponsoring people online with a $20 beauty bag is very hard to excite them to become involved with the business. So you must try and be very personal, even if it means FaceTiming if you have to, you know, talking to them personally, you know, asking their permission. You know, when people say, but I don't want to be pushy and I want to slash my wrist, then I say, what about if you ask their permission to inform them? You know, every person that I have sponsored, besides telling them about the wonderful benefits they have to save money, I always say, And can I have your permission to tell you of many other rewards, freebies, and incentives that come with that beautiful VIP account? I would love your permission to do that. And once they give you permission, there's your opportunity to expose it all to them and go right through to the ESM level. That is not being pushy. That is being very professional. So besides my OPA, besides my planning, please remember to ask permission to inform people. And that way you will feel comfortable and they won't feel that you're being pushy. You're being polite. You're being professional. And the other thing I want you to always do, remember somebody gave that gift to you. Why wouldn't you want to give it to others? I really seriously ask you to remember that. My formula for success in the job was 4 times 4 times 4, and I still talk about it. To sell 4,000 every month, to meet enough people to sponsor. Now, in my days, we always aim to sponsor a minimum of 4. You might like that number to be higher these days. But if it was 4 consistently every month, you'll get to the top. Because I see people sponsor 21 month and none for 3. You know, have a consistent formula, even if it is still only 4 a month, because I'm going to tell you what you must do. 4,000 sales to meet the people to sponsor, but for you to earn good income. When I started Nutrimetics, my $4,000 sales gave me 45% commission, gave me a basic wage. That's how I fed my kids and paid for the mortgage. And then when I got team bonuses, there was my indulgent money. There was money we never had. There was money to do things that we couldn't do before. So 4 times 4 times 4. And you know what the other 4 is for? I'd say 5 these days. 4 times 5 times 5. Activate 5. Sponsor 5 and activate 5. Spend more time on less. You know, speak to those 5 people, build a relationship, make a friend out of them, make them feel special, give them recognition, ask their permission to give them more information, and always give them a disclaimer, a way out. And of course, you can always find it may not be for you, and that's perfectly okay. Phraseology is very important in this business, and so is eloquence. I'm doing my very best to be that, but I get a bit excited when I'm presenting. You know, you have to look good, the best you possibly can. We're in the beauty industry. You have to sound good. You need to be eloquent so people can hear what you're saying, feel what you're saying, feel it from your heart. That is the love that you have of what you do. You know, all of that's got to be in place, and have an absolute unconditional outcome every month. Sell 4,000. So you earn some good income, but the main reason you're meeting the people to sponsor, whether it's face-to-face or online, it can be either. You can meet people online through FaceTime, emails, SMSs, and phone calls. You know, I've got a granddaughter. I don't think she's made a phone call to anyone in her life but me. She's petrified of talking on the phone. But if you are, remember, I was petrified of lots of things, like the river going down the streams and the villages from the mountains till she got to the sea. But then she had to keep going and she became the river. I want you to remember that story. And I want you to remember that your attitude is far more important than your aptitude. Aptitude is how good you are, how much beautiful lippies you can put on, and all of that. You must have an incredible attitude and a hunger and a drive for success. And I just want to have a look. I did make one note here. What was it? I think I've covered most of it. And you have to understand the business opportunity plan. You know, that also is clarity. You have to know where you're going. This is how I run my training. This is how I run my business. Sponsor 5 and activate 5. Don't just sponsor 20 and sell them a VIP account. Change your tack. Sponsor 5 because your outcome is to activate 5 and get 5 of them referring 5 of their friends and doing their sales and rewards and giving you permission to inform them about the journey through to ESM. If you don't do it in the early days, you will never get the chance again to do it effectively. You could have lost a lot of Louises if all you've done is sponsored 20 and you haven't done what you need to do. You have to activate. That means get them involved in the 5, refer 5 friends. Excite them about the 5 gifts and tell them what a wonderful gift it is to share with their friends and family. And show them the sales and rewards, over $1,700 in value, and ask them permission to let you take them through the business plan up to executive sales manager. Have your hard copy Nutriliving with you so you can show them the pictures of the cars and trips and everything that people are getting. Or if you're doing it online, make sure that you get it all through to them, whichever medium you choose, and phone them and talk to them personally. It's better to talk to 5 people a month than sponsor 20 online with a $20 VIP account and leave it at that. I seriously mean it. So I just want to finish off with saying some of the virtues that I find work so beautifully in this business is joyfulness. That is, have fun. There's no point in doing a job if you're not enjoying doing it. Have fun. Have the virtue of love from your heart about everything you are doing. Love your job, love your product, love the opportunity. Gain clarity. Be orderly. That is, have your time plans in place. Know where you're going and where you're going. Have accountability. Make sure that when you give your word, you keep your word. Be brave and courageous. I always say I'd rather be a lioness for a day than a lamb for the rest of my life. Have the commitment, the unconditional commitment. Have grace. Be dignified. Have eloquence. Take responsibility for everything you do. Have that incredible self-discipline. And above all, have the zeal, the fire in your belly, so that people can see when you're talking about your product, your opportunity, and your incentives and rewards. It must be true. She's so passionate about it. So I'm going to leave it at that. My time is up. I have no idea what I've left out. Thank you, Adam. I can see a little clap, so it must be okay. So I'd just like to thank you for letting me be your speaker. I felt very inadequate after following Deanna, Louise, and Lee. But anyway, that's it. And I wish you all a wonderful acceleration through this business.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you so much. Oh, I just loved it. And I'd love Adam to share a bit of a summary of.
Definitely, Peggy. Oh my
what
gosh,
he's
so
taken
many
away.
pages of notes. And yes, I have heard your story before, but you always tell it in such an interesting way. And there's so many more gems in there each time. I just love it. All the messages are coming through, Peggy, of how inspirational your talk was tonight. So we so appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Some of my takeaways today were: give this an unconditional shot. Really, really go for it. Get that fire in the belly. Provide recognition. I think that sometimes when perhaps things aren't going as well, for us or for our teams, we kind of back off the recognition as well in times when things aren't booming ahead. So I know that something I'm definitely going to be doing is getting back to that recognition and really recognizing all the girls for all the incredible achievements that are happening. Making mistakes is beneficial. Make lots of mistakes. Who doesn't like making mistakes? Hands up, anyone that doesn't like making mistakes. Yep. So it's great to make those mistakes. I know at the end of the month, I was sending out messages to status 3s and for them to be able to keep their accounts. And I sent the same account number to 10 people. Forgot to change the same account number. And it gave me a reason to go back to them all and chat to them. And they found it funny. And, you know, it's all good to make mistakes.
And they ordered so they could stay.
I think they ordered more because of the mistakes that I made. Probably thought, oh, we better keep his account open, didn't know what's happening. Look for ordinary, nice, normal people. Absolutely love that as well. Peggy joined for the second time. So if it's your second time, or if it's not, you know, it's not always the first time. I had 2 people that joined last month in my business that joined for the second time. And the first time they didn't place an order on their accounts. The second time they've both sold over $700 in their first full calendar month, their first few weeks. So don't disregard someone's first time. It could be their second, could be their third or their fourth time that really makes the difference. Eliminate the fear and develop yourself. I know something that I love to be able to promote and share with the team is to watch the Anthony Robbins I'm Not Your Guru on Netflix. So most of us have Netflix, or if you don't, find a friend that has it and has a spare place on their account for you. But I'm Not Your Guru on Netflix is amazing. And it ticks a lot of boxes because you can be watching Netflix, you can be doing work and developing yourself at the same time. So I absolutely love that. There's no shortcuts to success. So get ready for some work and value your time. I've been speaking quite a bit about time over the past few weeks and where and when and what for. And I really believe it's about being super intentional with your time. So something I've started to do is diarize when I have, you know, an hour of phone conversation, or when I'm calling a friend, or when I'm having lunch, or really just diarizing your time. So you wake up with purpose throughout the day and it doesn't leave that time just kind of lingering and then whatever happens in that time. So if you're intentional with your time, then you're really putting value on it for yourself. Work damn hard. Love that, Peggy. And always talk big picture. So that was fabulous. Get your mind off yourself and on to your job. Opa. So outcome, purpose, and attitude. Love that little formula. Thank you so much for that, Peggy. And living in abundance. Living in abundance. Having the ability to purchase things or do things or experience things just because you want to and because you can. And I feel so blessed having been brought up in that environment with mum and dad being able to do those extra things for us as kids. So grateful for that. The virtues, guidelines for success, and something I love, which I'll put into the chat box. I've got the link here as well. This is the VIA signature strengths. And when you know what you're good at and what your top values are, then if you really work from that space, what you're doing comes from the heart and it doesn't feel pushy at all. So these are the VIA signature strengths. You can do this test. I did it with a business coach many years ago, and I share this with so many of the team members that come in. So it's VIA character, so VIA character.org. And it will give you your top 5 signature strengths. It will tell you what your values are, what you're good at, and it will also tell you what you're not so great at and what you don't value. So it's important then you can shape your time and what you do around that. Asking permission. Can I have your permission, Peggy? I love that line. I've got some phone calls to make tomorrow and to ask some people for some permission to tell them about some incredible things that are available to them. Give empowerment to others. How can you give empowerment to others when you're not empowered yourself? And I really believe working with that values in action, doing things that are really close to your heart and doing them in the right way will give you that ability to be able to move forward and empower others. 4 plus 5 plus 5. I love that. 4 plus 5 plus 5. $4,000 in personal sales. Big believer in that extra income and being able to do that online. I know we've been running some virtual beauty workshops with, we had one with Val's team last week with Lynn Perkins. We had a few 2 weeks ago that we sort of started off doing, or 3 weeks ago now. And from just 4 virtual beauty workshops, we were able to generate over $6,000 in sales. So we have the opportunity to be able to get online, wash our faces and do our makeup and share our incredible products with other people, because they don't have the opportunity to go into Mecca or Sephora or David Jones or their beauty therapist or their hairdresser and have that expert advice. And we're able to do that for them, which is just such an incredible thing to be able to do. I know I've touched base with quite a few of my friends in Sydney over the past week and have been able to talk them through how to use different skincare or what they can add into their routine with their current skin conditions or the change of seasons. It's just such a powerful thing that we can help people with at this time.
And most of those people that were invited, Peggy, were all in the girls' teams. So they're VIPs in their teams, and then the girls can go and use their own account. But they were willing to do that. They were willing to shop and wanting to shop and using that opportunity of being at home so much, of learning some new skills with their makeup or exactly what to use on their skin.
Definitely.
So you're not necessarily finding a whole lot of people that don't know you to come on a virtual. You're finding people that are in your team.
And that's where it begins. And then they'll love it. And they'll want to come back and share with their friends, just as we do in-person workshops. Understand the business opportunity. I remember I had a friend join who became a manager, Tian, and Tian said to me, I want to know how to get to the top. So I had to learn the business opportunity plan pretty quickly so that I could explain it to her. And that was a really great lesson for me, because from that point, I understood what was next, and how to get there. And most of all, have fun. Enjoy what you're doing, have fun, be kind to yourself, and go out there and achieve your goals and create that bright future for yourself. So thank you so much, Peggy, again, from our hearts to yours. Big hugs. And
thank you, Peggy. And thank you to everyone for coming online. I just so appreciate you spending an hour or so with us, and what a wonderful opportunity to learn over these months from some of the very best in Nutrimetics. And we all learn all the time as well, don't we, Peggy? We love to learn. We're still learning. So every new consultant, we are here wanting to share our knowledge, but we are also here every month learning for ourselves and being reminded of the basics too. And I would love to leave everyone by inviting you to come to the Nutrimetics conference next year, which I believe will be held in February if things go to plan. That's the plan at the moment. And to save some money or make it your Christmas present to yourself to be there and to meet all of the people that you hear online as well. And I want to invite you, if the time is right, if it's your right time in your life, or you want to be courageous, to earn the next seminar, wherever it may be. And it will be a national destination, and perhaps even write down in the chat where you want it to be. When we asked the girls this morning, Peggy, the majority said Broome. They want to go to Broome
Mm.
on the seminar.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I'm surprised. Broome is amazing.
it is. And come to that seminar and say hello personally to Peggy. That's my challenge to you.
Over the desert and meet us.
Exactly.
And we
And
also have
Adam,
a preview of next month. So next month we have, hopefully Dad is here. Dad, I can't see you, but next month we have,
There he is.
Next month we have my father, Michael Buchner, who will be our guest speaker for Creating a Bright Future. So Dad is going to, it's a great night to invite the guys along to be able to have a look at, I guess, first of all, a husband's perspective of the Nutrimetics opportunity and the difference that's made. So Dad, do you want to give us a little bit of a testimonial of what you'll be sharing with us next time?
Not at all. No. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thanks, Peggy. That was wonderful today. And hello, everybody that's online. Yes, next month you're going to hear the real secrets behind the success of Louise and Adam, and lots of secrets and lots of wonderful things from a male perspective. I've just arrived in Jindabyne. I've run the police gauntlet from Sydney and made it down to Jindabyne to spend some time with the grandkids and whatever. And it's interesting, Peggy, Adam should have told you what OPA is all about.
We love Opa.
I know what it's all about. Your grandfather.
Yeah,
That's right, quite
German
right. Yeah.
grandfather.
So I look forward to being here in a month's time.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool.
And thank
Thanks,
you everyone
Mike.
for your time.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Hugs to all of you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Good night.
Bye.
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 Thank you. Thank
Pleasure.
you.